Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, TrackStat, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 455 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Austin Davis. And if you want to hear a story about how to be humble, obedient, and aware, stay tuned. Welcome back. It's another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast, episode 455. That's a really good number. And we were just really outside the lines here before we started this conversation about chiropractic. And there's a lot of things that are really going on in our world. And there's a lot of concern out there. And I think that we're going to talk a lot about chiropractic today, which is the science, art, and philosophy. And if you guys didn't know that, now you know. But before we jump in with Austin Davis, there are some baseline things that I share with everybody every time. Yeah, and that is Chiro Hustle, the big why. Why do we do what we do? Well, we do protect freedom of speech. And as you all know, over the past couple of years, that's a huge concern. So protecting the freedom of speech and medical freedom and family freedom is something that I will die on the hill for. So that's why I continuously produce this show the way that I do. And BJ Palmer, if you don't know who that man is, go do a quick search, but search for BJ Palmer's last words, the sacred trust. And we do protect BJ Palmer's sacred trust. And that is something so powerful. And that is why chiropractic is what it is because they guard it well. And the other parts of us are we do support subluxation based chiropractic. I know that in chiropractic, that's kind of a strange thing that we have to say that, but right. It is true. And we believe that when a person gets adjusted by a chiropractor, it connects man or woman, the physical, to man or woman, the spiritual. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's why we do this show. So Dr. Austin Davis, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I think we're going to light this one up, and we're going to be able to share a lot about your chiropractic journey, and then we're really going to get to some deep levels on this. So I know that you have a few generations of chiropractic in your family, but why don't you share with us and our audience how you got into becoming a chiropractor?
Yeah, absolutely. So I thankfully was raised in a chiropractic family. My grandparents were involved with chiropractic when it was, I guess, illegal to be a chiropractor, like in New York, where you had to bring a busted radio into a repair shop and they gave you a ticket and you would go down the stairs and you'd get adjusted in the basement in secret. And this is modern times. I mean, this is not that long ago. And my father, Dr. Alan Davis, who kind of a quiet giant in the profession, has been doing it for 40 plus years and ran one of the largest practices in New York, Connecticut, California. Hardcore DE guy, was one of Sid's soldiers for a long time. I mean, to the point where we were raised in a family that, I kid you not, I just talked about this today with another doctor. I've never had a pharmaceutical in my body. I've never had a Tylenol, Advil, ibuprofen injection. I've never had anything from that medical sphere of this world. So when people tell me, "Oh, I need this to get by, I need this," that's bullshit. I've had teeth pulled, I've had surgeries. I'm a chiropractor today, partly from being raised at DE. I was a month old at my first one, went to 4 a year till I was in my teens. Went back when I went to chiropractic school, which my folks never pushed on us. It was just, you got to wake up and go to work. You do what makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else. And I did a lot of jobs that work with my hands, helping people, and it just nothing felt right until I found chiropractic. But it was hockey. I played hockey growing up, and I was a goalie. I got kneed in the back of the head and ended up compression fracture of the neck, and they wheeled me into a hospital at 12 or 13 years old, and I still had my hockey gear on, my skates and goalie pads and everything. And I remember the nurse going, "Oh, what are you, a soccer player?" And I was like, wow, these people are fucked up. They do not get reality. And they took the x-rays and they looked at it and they said, "Here's the fracture. We can fuse his spine to protect it." And thank God my father was a chiropractor, and we were in a small farm town in Connecticut. I grew up in a small town in Connecticut, about 5,000 people. And he's like, "Oh, I'm a doctor. Let me look at these x-rays." And he said, "Well, do you see the subluxations present that would indicate that a fusion would interfere with this kid's nervous system for the rest of his life?" And I get goosebumps now, just like I got goosebumps when I forever will remember the doctor's words when he said, "Look, man, we're not really trained to look for that." He goes, "We see the big scary stuff. We found it. We can stabilize it. It'll help him." And my father said, "Absolutely not," and signed me out of the hospital with a neck brace and all this shit. And I went home and was losing some of the usage of my arms and shoulders because the compression fracture was C5. And thankfully, it was literally chiropractic, and it was my father's good friend at the time, actually, Donnie Epstein. We did some network because I couldn't do anything rotational. I couldn't do anything manual. Got some network in the beginning, built up to more manual adjusting, and saw, so thankfully, through the DE community, some of the all-time greats of chiropractic. And with a team effort, everything stabilized, everything's back to normal, full use of everything, got back to playing hockey. But it set me on a path that I realized that if you want to truly appreciate and support the gift you're given at birth, the divine aspect of universal communication, chiropractic is the only method responsibly that unites man and woman, the physical, man and woman, the spiritual, but allows the infinitely intelligent communication in the body to do its thing. And you can rub it and tape it and inject it and stretch it. You could do all the other stuff that I'm sure has positive benefits. But there's one thing that takes the greatest power we don't even fully understand and channels it through your little flesh bag here, and that's chiropractic. And from that moment forward, I knew that it was in the cards for me, and I found it eventually down the road. But that first day of orientation, I broke out in tears, man. It was like, this is it. What is greater than the ability to give someone the universal intelligence, the imprisoned potential within, and set that free with two hands and a flat surface? What else could you do? What am I going to fucking go do? Be a golf caddy or make goofy t-shirts or make coffee? Like, you just, once you see it and feel it, there's nothing else that makes sense. I couldn't imagine. I stopped going to the movies. I stopped playing golf. I don't have time for anything else, because digging into this one special thing is so exhilarating that everything else has lost its flavor, its taste. I'm a pretty boring guy now. I go out and hunt. I sit under a tree for a day. That's my vacation, or 2 days or 5 days or whatever it is. But I've lost the taste for hobbies, for shit, because I've tapped into this thing that's, chiropractic at its core, at its source, is so exciting, so thrilling. I can't go to the fucking movies. What am I, watch Jurassic fucking Park, see a dinosaur yell at somebody for an hour? I don't give a shit about any of it.
Yeah, a lot of times, Dr. Austin's people, they see me and they're like, "Why are you so serious?" I'm like, "Well, number one, I don't watch television."
Right. Yeah.
Um, and that kind of keeps me on my straight and narrow path of having common sense. And I know that these are some of the things we were talking about
Right.
before we went live on this interview. But this isn't never about me. I never created the show to be about James Chester. I created this show to feature chiropractors, so chiropractors could tell people about the power of chiropractic. And that's what makes this show so beautiful, because most hosts of any show that becomes popular, they make it about themselves.
Sure.
And this was never about me. Like, I tirelessly traveled around the United States in, 2018, and I did 365 interviews that year so I could feature
Wow.
the message of chiropractic.
Yeah.
I believe so much in what you guys do as a profession that I wanted to go and step every step of my way to where I could say, look at this guy, he's got something to say. Look at her, she has something to say. And if I could make a tapestry of these conversations that was more grandiose and uh over the longest time code that I could make it, then we're creating a volume of content that supports a profession that has, actually, I learned, negative brand equity. So what we need to do is we need to right the ship. We need to rewrite history by telling the truth. One of my good friends, Roberto Monaco, would always tell me, if we don't tell them the truth about what we do, someone else will make up one about us. And
That's how it goes.
I think that by doing this, though, and staying principled, as my shirt says, we are able to right the ship, and we're able to tell a story that supports the science, philosophy, and art of this beautiful profession that you have no extra time for, except for hunting and being a family man. So I know that DE is a big part of your life, and principled chiropractic is a big part of your life. Let's talk about that. Let's hit it. What is Dynamic Essentials, and what does it mean to you?
So the Dynamic Essential is, and there is a dialogue about this, but Dr. Sid Williams, who I truly hope you all know, at least know of, whether you love him or hate him, Sid Williams basically created a protocol, a mentality, a mindset where it's the new spirit born within when you become humble, obedient, and aware to the voice of God within. And it's a relatively simple sentence, but it's deeply powerful, and it's one of those that people struggle with. This is why I truly believe people fall out of chiropractic, whether or not they close their offices, is being humble, obedient, and aware to the voice within. And if you're not a God person, you can call it the universe, you can call it love, you can call it whatever you like, but it's that voice within, and it's that little voice that unfortunately we allow to get muted and inhibited time after time by going against the voice within, by succumbing to ego and fear and pressure, and we let the educated mind take over. And the educated mind will never be as strong as the innate mind, right? The innate potential, the innate intelligence is universal. It will always be greater. And that's that voice. So being humble, obedient, and aware is a big ask when you're talking to doctors, because we're all alphas and we want to be the top dog and we want to be the best. And what I say goes, and I got a piece of paper on the wall that says I went through the fire and now this is my show and whatever. To be humble, obedient, and aware to the power within and the greatest intelligence is the dynamic essential. And the lasting purpose, which is why we do what we do, is that ability to see all people regardless of condition or financial capability, to know that with two hands we have the potential to have the greatest impact. And it's more so than within our four walls of our offices, is a way of life, is you live a principled life. And that's what D has always been about. People come to it expecting to get a lot, and we're always taught to give love and serve out of your own abundance with no consideration of what comes in return. We're not giving to get anything. And trust me, I've been in that conversation 1,000 times. Well, you got to pay the bills, you got to keep the lights on. I don't know. The more I give, somehow the more that seems to accumulate in my direction. You give in what you become rich in. And if you give in a bunch of ego and bullshit, somehow you're surrounded by ego and bullshit. But you give in love and service and abundance, I seem to find myself surrounded by love and abundance and beautiful, dynamic people. So it's one of those things where we go to the Dynamic Essentials 4 times a year, sometimes 6 times a year, not to get anything, not for the latest and greatest in business practices, although there is actually everything I've learned is through the DE Procedures Manual. It's a big manual on how to run a business. We go there to learn to become a better person which in turn makes you a more capable chiropractor. Because you could teach a fucking monkey to adjust. It's pretty simple. You XYZ axis, a little bit of thrust. I mean, it's when you're a principal chiropractor, you work with your hands. It's simple. You learn how to be a chiropractor. You learn to be an evolved dynamic being of intelligence and healing capacity that people want to. You have a magnetism. It draws people into you because I'm the 86th chiropractor in Missoula, I just found out. And a lot of people go, well, that's a saturated market. The fuck it is. There's, from what I can tell, a handful maybe that actually do hands-on adjusting. I mean, there's very few chiropractors in chiropractic, and that's a problem. And they're good people. They're good doctors. And thank God they're good doctors. And I'm sure they're helping a lot of people. And this isn't just in my town. This is everywhere. There's a lot of doctors in chiropractic, and there's very few chiropractors. And that's what Dynamic Essentials is about, is building chiropractors for chiropractic.
I think based on what you said, I'm just going to share some quick hit stats. And I believe there's between 60 and 70,000 chiropractors in the United States with a practicing license. Of that number, 50% of them are part-time.
Wow. Okay.
So we have about 30,000 total full-time chiropractors that are actually out there checking, detecting, and correcting vertebral subluxations as a primary method.
Yeah.
So when we look at those numbers, there's a vast discrepancy between this word, principle, and what we actually have out there as a marketplace. And I'm not talking about the people that are practicing at joints. I'm not talking about the people that are practicing PI mills. I'm not talking about the people that are, doing different types of therapeutic chiropractic. These are all encompassing. These numbers are all in one lump sum. Yeah. So when you're talking about like somebody that detects, corrects, and adjusts vertebral subluxations, like that is a small, unfortunately, percentage of what's out there. So I think you're right on by banging the drum and getting a little fired up about that's why you do what you do. And I think a lot of people need to hear this message.
Well, it's not entirely my message, right? This should be the message of chiropractic. Chiropractic, to me, is the great white shark. It doesn't need to evolve. It doesn't need to be anything else. Interference creates miscommunication, creates dysfunction. Removal of interference creates function. I mean, this is chiropractic at its core, right? Like it's a basic universal law. Unfortunately, whether it's through the school systems, whether it's through the coaches, whether it's through chiros that got into it without ever learning the philosophy and principles, it has come to a point where it can be whatever you want, and it can be added to and subtracted from, and now somehow I have to qualify that I'm a principled, straight, hands-on chiropractor, and I've got to put all this shit onto it when I practice chiropractic. I practice what it is. And it's partly because we have somehow a profession of alphas that are like closeted betas that are like too afraid to just tell the fucking truth, be with a patient for 90 seconds. How much time do you need to move a fucking bone? You find it, you move it, you recheck it. Next, you educate. The reason we move so quickly is not because we look past anybody, is we care infinitely about each person, but every single person deserves to have the opportunity to get checked and corrected. And because of that, patients get on your team and go, hey, doc, sure, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you Wednesday. And they know that they got to move through here because we got a lot of people we need to see. And there's a lot of chiros that are too afraid to stand on their own 2 feet and say, I'm not going to rub you down. I'm not going to tape you. I'm not going to do any of this bullshit that I can bill for, because these schools are sending you out here with $250K in debt. I graduated with $230K in debt. Now, to brag, I paid that shit off in 5 years, bought 2 houses, traveled the world, live a fucking great life. with 2 hands and 3 fucking tables, and that is it. You can come surprise me in my office anytime you want. There's no machines. I don't sell fucking pills and shit like that. I'm sure they're good for you. I got 2 hands, 3 tables, and that's it. And that's how we run. And we run hot and fast because people know that they get the goods. They understand why they're getting it. They understand why the waiting room is fucking full, and that they're the most special person. I see one person at a time, but I do that over and over and over. And they know that everybody deserves this. And there's so many people out there. Chiro's going, yeah, well, I can bill for XYZ. And as long as it helps people, it's this little loophole in chiropractic going, well, don't you want to help people? Well, hot packs help people. So you want to restrict how you can help them? And I say, just don't put doctor in front. Just don't put chiropractor in your title. Just put medipractor, wellness practitioner, funk med, whatever you want, and stand on your own 2 feet and say, I detect and correct subluxation. I adjust it to release the imprisoned potential within, and you are better for that, period. I don't care if you believe in chiropractic. I don't care if you don't feel it right now. If that subluxation has been removed, you are better. Your community is better. The world is a better place because of it.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, TrackStat, and MSculpt. Let's hustle.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of heated things for me too. And I tell, I've scheduled in nearly 7,000 new patients doing chiropractic screening events.
Wow.
And I tell people, you don't have to believe in chiropractic. I said Williams them. I dropped some keys. Right. And I say it works whether you believe it or not. I tell them, you know what a belief system is? Santa Claus. Yeah. You know what a belief system is? The Easter Bunny. I go, chiropractic, it's not a belief system. Like, you don't have to believe in it. But I know when you get adjusted that your life gets better. That's all I can tell them.
Without a doubt.
And I go, if you want to get seen by somebody you can talk to about your health concerns, that's going to do a proper exam, a consultation, and tell you what's going on, how much concern there is, and how they can help you, come see us.
Yeah, that's it.
If you want to do that, then come see us. And I can't tell you how many times somebody they don't want me to be their friend, just like that. You don't need to be their friend. They want me to tell them that I can help them and come see the person that can be their doctor. Like, they don't need you to be their friend when they show up for their adjustment. They need you to be a competent adjuster and to be able to send them on their way and not waste your time or their time.
All people want in my office, from my experience, 4 things, right? And you know these 4 things. Did you find it? Can you fix it? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? That's it. That's my marketing. I answer those 4 questions, and people tend to stick around for years. As long as, because I'm honest with them. I found it. I can fix it. It's going to cost this. Give me this amount of time and we'll do a re-exam. And they tend to stick around and refer.
And the 2 things that stop people most of the time, all the time, from taking chiropractic services, time and money.
That's it. That's it.
You'd feel like we rehearsed this talk, but we didn't.
Time and money I tell them, look, good chiropractic ain't cheap and cheap chiropractic ain't good. So we price ourselves fairly because I'm of the people. We grew up, in a blue collar community. I'm in a blue. I want to remove barriers of entry. We do our membership. We have the Everyman Plan, as Sid would talk about and BJ would talk about in the Green Book. The Everyman Plan. We have never turned anybody away for financial capability. We will see all people, regardless of condition or financial capability, but we will work something out. There needs to be a transaction to complete the circle. I have given away care, especially to veterans and this kind of thing. And I'm saying this very polite. I will always give away care to veterans for sure, but I've given away care to all types of people if there's not a connection, a transaction, it's an open-ended experience, they tend to drift away. There isn't an accountability like we were talking about earlier. And I don't ask them for anything, but I have them go, I'm going to come do something. There has to be a transaction. But we've never turned anybody away.
Yeah.
And then time. And I tell them, look, if you don't spend the time now, how much time do you think you're going to spend recovering from X, Y, or Z 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? You spend the time now, you give me the time I need, and you're not going to be taken out of the game prematurely.
Yeah. So I know we're on the hot seat a bit together. Where's chiropractic headed? Give me the crystal ball. Give me 5 years from now. Where are we going?
So I am a type of person who likes to look at things from every direction because I like to be as prepared as possible for any situation. I think maybe it comes from being a hunter. I'm out in the woods a lot, especially solo, and I go through situations in my head. What if? So I could see it going in a lot of different directions. So I'm going to give you what I truly want to see for chiropractic, and then I'm going to give you a very honest where it is right now and where it's headed. We are behind where BJ left our profession when he passed away. And
is that 1956?
It was, I thought it was 62 or something.
62.
Somewhere in there. Shockingly recently, for me, I'm an 80s baby, so the 60s still feels recent. I get that we're like way far away from that. However, I believe we are behind where we were at when he was alive. And it's shocking to me because we have greater outlets for communication. We have social media. What we're doing right now, we have these tools where if BJ had these tools, I truly believe we would be on par with the medical profession. We would have a dominant workforce. But somehow with greater dispersion of information, it is allowed for greater dilution of profession. And that is how I see it. I'm on the TikToks and the Instagrams, and I look at all this shit, and 1 out of 10 is something I go, oh, wow, yeah, I vibe with that. That's really cool. A lot of it is this sort of ego fluffing nonsense where people call it whatever the chiropractic, and it's everything but. And then I get people going, hey, can you do that thing I saw on TikTok where they just put a strap on you and torture rack you and everything pops and all this stuff, and we got to work our way back to like what principle is. And that thankfully there's people like yourself that have taken it upon themselves to go, this is the fucking line. We're going to hold the line. We're going to present what it actually is. And you're utilizing the resources to your advantage, to the profession's advantage. But because of this open door marketplace now, everyone under the sun that can get into chiropractic school can call themselves a chiropractor, can put it out there, and it should be the greatest tool in our existence. Now, thankfully, I do a lot of work with the schools, and there's a lot of very passionate students. And the way forward is with students. And we got to get these students to understand the power of straight chiropractic. Now, unfortunately, schools are not teaching that anymore. There's a couple out there. Schools are not teaching it. These fucking hack job chiros that have turned into coaches are not teaching it. They couldn't make it in practice, so now they're making it off chiropractors. And it's the sad fucking truth. And I've seen it, and I've tried that world. It's miserable. I don't like it. I don't like to be a part of it. And it's something that needs to truly shift. Because these people are my freshmen, I don't know if it's freshman, I don't know what they call it. My first quarter of chiropractic school, I had a very well-known modern day coach as a philosophy teacher. I'm not going to mention names, but I hope he's listening because he knows who he is. And he was selling $5,000 fucking coaching programs to students through the class and suckered a bunch of them into it. He ended up marrying one of those students. They were both married at the time, but they found their way together. There's a lot of despicable shit that goes on in our profession from principled people. And then it gets presented as if you're not with us, you're one of these softy, rah-rah, old school, we do it the old way, and you're not modernizing. And it's fear. It's a fear-based practice that they don't have the goods. They've lost the spark of life. And they can't deliver what they need to deliver. So they teach people how to be businessmen and women, how to run a business. Don't get me wrong. We need to know how to do that for sure. I'm just about as dumb as a stump when it comes to business. And somehow I'm on my third high volume office. So you focus on the capacity to give, love, and serve. And I don't know, put a fucking box on the wall. I know Stu Bidman does it. He does great. And Stu's the most loving, beautiful man on the planet. Put a fucking box on the wall, say, I'm here to do this. Put whatever you think you should in the box. You'll pay your bill. You'll do fine. Now you want one of these mega, look at me, name in the billboard, like, you want to build yourself a little something. Sure, go for it. But it's going to distract you from chiropractic.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff you said there. And I think as I've learned more and more, I've been a part of this world chiropractic for 14 years. And I've had a real sobering experience to see the different factions of chiropractic, and one of my favorite events to go to every year when it's on is Billy DeMoss's Cal Jam.
Hell yeah.
And I feel like, I've said this before, but I feel like it's the gangs in New York. I feel like all these little posses,
the 5 fingers,
all these posses come out to Costa Mesa, California, and go check out the rock show and the big stage. And I think that there's something really special about the Dynamic Essentials group. I attended my first one recently, and I had a chance to meet you there. Yeah. And I felt like it was a real deal chiropractic experience. And
I appreciate hearing
from my background of going to I average about 15 chiropractic seminars a year.
Yeah.
And for me to have such a broad footprint on the profession and have shaken just about everybody that I would consider a leader in the profession or someone of importance over the past 7 years. I've shaken hands or spent time with them or interviewed them. I think it's really important for us to stand up for the truth of what chiropractic really is. And I believe that the more that we have guys like you that stand for the truth and protect the sacred trust and really want to, as we were talking about earlier about like early child rearing. Well, we need an early chiropractic rear too. And we need to take those young ones and give them some power and give them some trust and give them some commitment. And I think that that's really where the path of the future for chiropractic is we need to take the schools back. And we need to put real leadership into those positions of responsibility, and we need to give them the resources in order to have a quality of life like you earned for yourself, and to give them the ability to go out and to fight for themselves, to make a career for themselves, and to not be the 1 and 2 that die as a practitioner after 5 years of practice, because that's the fail rate. They have the same fail rate. Chiropractors have the same fail rate after 5 years of practice as the same as a small business owner. And we need to fix that, because what happens now, and this is just a sober truth again, is when somebody goes through and they become that doctor of the future, as we call the doctor of the present, a chiropractor.
Yeah.
As Edison's quote was, the doctor of the future quote. If you guys don't know that, go look it up. Thomas Edison, the doctor of the future.
We'll give no medicine.
Yeah. We'll give no medicine, but will interest patients in the care of the human frame and through nutrition. I don't know for verbatim, but the doctor of the present is chiropractor.
Right.
And for every time we lose this frontline soldier to lack of business strategy and success, that creates this black hole within the future of chiropractic. And it's like having a dead soldier or somebody that climbs Everest and dies. 4% of everybody that climbs Everest dies.
Wow.
And guess what? They don't retrieve those bodies and bring them down.
Still up there.
They leave them up there.
Yeah.
And the thing is when somebody goes through chiropractic and becomes a doctor and they fail, they didn't only fail themselves, but they failed the family that believed in them. One of my favorite things when I interview a young chiropractic student that's still in school is, Are you the first doctor of your family? And to see that well up of pride, oh yeah, I'm the first doctor of my family, or no, I'm a second generation chiropractor, and that like sense of gusto,
Yeah.
like that matters. And when
Yeah.
we lose that, that's where I don't want to see chiropractic go.
No, it's a situation where it's surprising to me to hear these numbers, because knowing what chiropractic is, how simple it is and how easy it is to just present it as the truth. This is it. This is it. Hardbone, as RJ Kelly, who you probably didn't get a chance to meet. He was a big DE guy. He was a very dear friend of mine who passed away. He would say hard bone, soft nerve, not good. Like that was his like report of findings. And it was like, you could boil it down so simply and so beautifully. And like we were talking about earlier, regardless of what you identify as, in my office, you're a nervous system. Like it's relatable to all people all the time. And to hear that there's people failing, to me, is like, how is that actually possible? Where if you were to just stand on the corner and say, I have the ability to check and detect for interference to your nervous system, the system that controls all function, not just physical feel, but glandular, a mood function, digest, how you view the world, your adaptation to this world, we can address. And to fail tells me that they either never truly believed in it or understood it, or someone led them astray, because it's too simple to fail. So that there's got to be something going on, mechanisms in place that are sabotaging the beautiful simplicity of what we do. And if that's the case, then yes, we do need to go sniff out the boards of every school, the coaching program. We got to look at everything and go, who is it or where is it that you have deviated? And this is a common, it's a common theme in a lot of motivational talks, but like a boat 4 degrees off course at first, almost unrecognizable. 4 degrees. It's a little, but you end up missing your mark by miles when you get to where you're going. And there's somewhere that someone, some institution, some program is just taking your compass a degree or two to the left or to the right. And enough of that, and you're 4 degrees off, and you'll make it a couple of years, sure. And then you see these chiros. I had 10 in my immediate family. A lot of them are not chiropractors today. And it's just either it's a give to get, or, hey, look, if you got in this thing, as Santo used to say, which to your listeners, find Dick Santo. I love Sid Williams with all of my heart. I will listen to Santo talks all night and day, just like I'll read Barge over Palmer night and day. You got to find what you gravitate towards, what really resonates with you. For me, it's Barge and Santo. But Santo would talk about, if you got into this to make money, I feel sorry for you. Go be an investment banker. Go get into the financial world and short stocks and go crypto nuts or whatever. That's not what this is about. Now, the people I know that are making the most, they don't give a shit what their books look like at the end of the week. People ask me all the time, what was your ROI on your thing, and what's your per visit average? And I do not know. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I know that my numbers were probably greater than they were last month, and that to me is progress. And as long as I keep having months that are bigger than the previous one, great. I got into this because I've walked some fucking dark roads, some dangerous shit. And some people were kind enough to say, this is not a total lost cause. Let's steer you in the right direction. And it led me into a profession that truly opened my heart, my soul, my mind. I had an awakening into chiropractic. That chiropractic is in me and I'm not in chiropractic. And this awakening has led me to see that all people deserve to have that potential, that there can be an awakening, there can be more, and nobody is truly a lost cause. And yet, if you get into it for a big house and shiny cars and all this shit, it's super frustrating because you're dealing with health, you're dealing with fear, you're dealing with people's stuff. And to wade through all of that for a paycheck, they'll sniff that shit out real quick. You're not the first on their list. I wish. You asked me where chiropractic's headed. I hope it's headed to where we're the first call people make. I know we're not. I hope we are one day. I'd love it, but we're not. They've been lied to. They've been cheated. They've had the surgeries, the injections, the fucking drug. They've tried everything. And now they're coming in for chiropractic care. And that's the fact of the matter. For the most part, I'm speaking blanketed, but for the vast majority of people, fine, I'll try chiropractic fifth or whatever, right? They can smell bullshit. They've been through it. If they're in your office, they've been through some shit. And you're trying to get their fucking their money from them, they'll sniff that out pretty quick. So I remove that from my psyche. I remove it. Sure, it's part of it. I don't spend a moment of thought on what are my rates. I call 5 offices around me. I said, what do you guys charge? I average it. That's what I charge. And that's it. And I said it. That's it. Flat rate. I don't care if you show up in a Maserati or you live in the alley behind the building. That's it. And we'll find a way to work. Like I said, I trade with people. We do all kinds of stuff, but we set a fair price as a baseline. And if life truly dealt you a shit hand, we'll find a way to work in. Absolutely. I'm fortunate enough to come from a place of love, and we try to share that.
Austin Davis, I love you.
Yes.
You're episode 455 of the Chiro Hustle podcast.
Yeah.
We definitely shot from the hip today.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have another show 9 minutes ago.
That's not unfortunate. That's fantastic. I appreciate you giving me this amount of time. Most people would have shut me off like 20 minutes ago.
Well, I really believe that we brought a good message to people that needed to hear it. And I like that we're unencumbered with our message today. And my last closing statement is based on your analysis is we need to audit chiropractic. And with that being said, love and appreciate you, brother. Can't wait to see you next. And thank you for being on today.
I wholeheartedly appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to do this with you. I really do appreciate it. And I hope we get to chat, you and me, more as time goes on, because we do need an audit. We got to call some cattle to pasture.
All right, man. Have a great night up there in Big Sky.
I love you, brother. I appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. You are so important to our profession. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Talk soon.
Of course, anytime.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.